As the clock strikes 7, the vibes alive. Inner circles here, where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come one, come all, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. Inner Circle podcast where love is well known.
Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inner Circle Podcast. Tonight is our regular weekly business and finance show where we empower you, our audience with tools to navigate finance and business. I'm your host, Abe Kamara, and with me is Ms.
Your
B.
panelists. It's your girl, Miss B. Good evening, everyone. How are we doing tonight? Thanks for joining us. Let's get down to the business that pays us.
Yeah. And tonight our topic is New Year, New Budget, Financial Goal Setting. We'll be talking about how to kick off the new year with a strong financial foundation. It's not about setting goals and creating a budget, that works for you, right? Whatever your situation is, trying to make sure creating, the budget that works for you. First off, Ms. B, are you, when it comes to budgeting, are you a financial goal setter? Do you budget?
I do budget. I'm forced to budget.
Okay. Okay.
I have a lot of things in different pots going on, and so
Okay.
I have to budget. Yes.
So it's important that you keep track of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And then, the start of a new year, right, is time to really take control of your finances, whatever it is, like Miss B said, right? It's like she has different buckets. Same thing here, right? Got a lot going on, kids, got some side hustles and things like that. So I want to make sure I keep track of those. So and then it's like it doesn't have to be like this, right? Whether you are saving for a house, right? Maybe like saving for that vacation or thinking about taking a vacation. It's just like, like your everyday expenses, like going out to eat, maybe like, if you
Entertainment, weekend entertainment,
entertainment, if you are
have
into some,
movies.
and like,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big things are subscriptions, right? If you're into those subscriptions,
Oh
Netflix,
my gosh.
Hulu,
Uh,
so
how many subscriptions do you have?
yeah, oh man, geez. It's sometimes, and when you lose track of them, right, that's when they get you. So
Yes.
you got to make sure, when the year begins, you kind of, okay, like reflect on the last year, right? What it is that, where did you spend all of your money, right? That's one of the things. That's the first thing we're going to talk about tonight, right? It's like when the new year comes and you're trying to set a goal and set a budget, like especially a financial goal, right? And you're trying to do a budget. It's the first of all reflect on the last year, right? You got to know where you're coming from. You say in life, you got to know what you're coming from to know where you're going, right? It's like so it's very important to kind of reflect on the last year. So Miss B, right, with that, looking back at 20, meaning like, right, looking back 2024, right, what it is like, where are the things like maybe like you overspent your money or financial mistakes or things that you looking back now and say, man, I shouldn't have done that or things like that.
So, I'm into real estate and it happens. You purchase a property
Yeah.
And it doesn't cash flow for you. So right now I'm trying to offload that property, but this does not mean that I'm no longer interested in investing. You know, I consider myself to be a small developer right now.
Okay.
I haven't built anything yet, but you know,
Mhm.
I'm investing in different properties. So for right now, that's my biggest concern. One of my properties that are on my portfolio is not cash flowing.
Mhm.
I feel like, you know, it's burning money for me at this time. So
Mhm.
I'm really focusing on offloading that property so I can make another investment into another property. So
Yeah.
that was our biggest spending for us last year.
But beyond that, though, right? Beyond that investment, right? That's an investment. Hopefully, it might use some cash flow down the line. It might use some ROI, return on investment. But beyond that, right? Like everyday living, right? Everyday expenses. Is there anywhere where in like are there things you could have done differently, or like what worked well for your finances and things like that, right? What are the things that work well and what didn't work well?
We travel a lot.
Okay.
We're talking about 10 different trips in 1 year.
Okay.
And so this year, what we told ourselves is we're going to continue to travel. We love to travel. We prioritize traveling over anything else.
Hmm.
As far as once we take care of the major bills, we memories are made when you're out there traveling, right?
Hmm.
And so what we told ourselves this year is like we're really going to sit down and kind of calculate what does each trip cost us and look at how many can we really afford to make.
Okay.
And we do, like I said, we want to purchase 2 properties this year. And
Okay.
so eating out, we spent a lot of money eating out.
Last year, you guys spent a lot of money on eating
We
out.
spent a lot of money eating out.
Okay.
It's still a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Mm.
I love to eat. I'm a foodie. I love to go out and eat different food and try different foods. These
Yeah.
are things where I feel like it's the return on that is not a financial return, but it's memories. And at the end of the day, God forbid something happened to me, I'm going to leave everything else here, and that's all I'm going to be taking with me, right?
Yeah.
Those moments I got to eat at the restaurant that I love and savor that food. So, but yeah, eating out and traveling are some of our biggest expenses, and I do want to cut that down.
So looking back for me though, looking back at my financial habit for last year, obviously I will agree with you a little bit, but not for me, right? I'm not a kind of a eating out heavy type
No.
kids, but my kids, right? Man,
Yes.
like all day, every day, like 3 times a day, right? It's like, and that's something, right? Looking back at it, I said, man, it's like every time, it's not just like last year, right? Even the year before or the year before. So it's like that's one of my financial habits. Looking back, I said, you know what? I think it is time to cut back on that. Maybe like my daughter just turned 14. I said maybe it's time she start learning how to cook. Whether it's pasta, whatever it is that she likes, right? So 2025, as we set our financial goal, our budget, that is something we're going to pretty much focus mainly on groceries rather than buying fast food all the time, right? It's like because that kind of I mean it does two things, right? It will help her to learn how to cook, right? Yeah, and also it's like it will help me to cut
To
down.
save money.
Yeah, I mean, it will help me save money. So that was my financial, like when I looking back at my financial habit last year that I definitely need to change, like as we go into 2025. And then the second thing, the same thing here, right? With travel. Last year, man, especially like, the end of last year, I just kept traveling, traveling, traveling. And like the travel is not cheap.
It can
It's a
get
good
addictive.
experience. It's a good experience, right? I love it. I love to be in those planes, traveling places because everywhere, especially like the United States, America is so beautiful, right? So sometimes
Yes.
you just want to go different places. Is
Yeah.
is priceless. For me, every time, and for me, I love convenience, right? It's like I like my
Mhm.
rental car, I like my hotel. So even if I have
Oh
family
yeah.
there, I don't want to be bothered. I just want to come visit you in the day and go back to my hotel.
Same here. We do the whole nine. It's the plane ticket, the
Yeah.
hotel, the rental car, the whole nine. We do it every single trip. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so looking back at my financial, my financial habit last year, those are the two places I think I actually overspent, right? Is like, traveling and my
And
kids
buying
eating,
food for the
yeah,
kids.
and yeah, buying food for my kids, things like that. So that's where to me I think I fell short, and I'm trying to change that this year. So as we set our budget, as we set our budget this year, I'm trying to be very intentional about traveling, right? I like places that have saying like maybe like graduation season is coming up pretty soon. like different occasions, I'm gonna pick my battles, right? I'm not just going to
Yes.
accept. I'm not
Yes.
going to
Not
accept any
everything we like.
invitation. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So like you, right? Like you were looking at, okay, how many traveling, you guys want to do, how many you guys did last year. For me, I'm gonna be intentional this year about not accepting every invitation.
Hmm.
Yeah, so those are my financial habits, looking back, at the last year and things like that. And then, for you folks at home, right? If you don't know what it is that you spent your money on last year, it's looking back at your bank statements. If you're not
Oh
into those
yeah.
habits, yeah. I mean, it's like, is that something that you do? Like, do you look back at your bank statement or whatever app that you use and things like that? It's like, dang, how much did I spend on this and that? Or your credit card statement as well.
So we have business accounts,
Okay.
two business accounts, and I do the preliminary bookkeeping, and
Okay.
then we pass it on to the tax person. And so
Yeah.
yes, I am forced to literally look through the bank statements,
Mhm.
especially if you have a business and you're not doing your bookkeeping on a monthly basis or even a quarterly basis, and you wait till the end of the year,
Mm.
you will have to go to your bank statement and kind of itemize, what expenses that are in there,
Mhm.
and then kind of, categorize all of those expenses. And then that's how you can really figure out what you really spend a lot of your money on. It's not nice to do
Yeah.
that, but it's a great way, a tool that you have right at your service that you don't have to pay anybody for. It's not like you have to go get QuickBooks, which you should, but it's a tool right there. Your bank statements are free. It's online. It's available to you right on your phone as well, for you to be able to comb through that and see where's your money going.
Yeah. And just to clarify though, right, for you, obviously you're a small business owner, you guys are into business. So it's like, it's like you have those business accounts. But just for individuals, right? That's something that
Yes.
individual can do, right? You can download your bank statement. You're like end of the year right now, right? The thing that out of the banks and like the Wells Fargo, even the big banks, right? The Wells Fargo, the US bank, right? Is like they make your 12-month financial statements available, right? I mean your bank statement available. So you can download that into Excel, right, as an individual, right, and kind of,
Yep.
or if you're not maybe if you're not Excel savvy, as Miss B said earlier, right, maybe you can just maybe download that bank statement, just go through it item by item, and see, okay, where did you spend the most money, right? It's like, but I would encourage you though, even if you're not Excel savvy, to actually utilize Excel. Or there are a lot of apps out there that these days that kind of help you do that anyway, personal apps, right, to manage your personal finances. Now, if you're a business owner, a small business owner like Miss B, QuickBooks is a great tool, right? You should
Yes.
definitely,
QuickBooks.
definitely have QuickBooks to help
Definitely
you.
QuickBooks,
Yeah, to help you in
HoneyBooks.
that. And then
Yeah.
also QuickBooks, and then also is like, utilizing Excel as well. But
Yeah.
it is a good practice, right? If you want to get into the habit of budgeting, to look at where you spent your money last year, and then that will help you to say, God, where did I overspend? Where did I go wrong? Where it's like there was no break, right? I just kept spending, or where did I underspend, right? Where in like maybe I could step it up a little bit and things like that. So that's the first place to start, and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
And
any
don't
other
feel
tips?
and don't
Any
feel
other tips?
bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think when we talk about budgeting and saving, sometimes we make people feel bad because we understand everybody's dealing with different incomes. But I think what's really, really important is people don't even really take time to realize how much money is coming
yeah.
into how much income are you really making, right?
Hmm.
And when I talk about your income, it's if you just work your 8 hours and did nothing else,
Hmm.
that's the income you want to start to calculate. That's your realistic income you want to calculate when you start doing a budget when
Yeah,
you start doing your budget for 2025.
yeah.
Forget about the fact that you put in all these extra hours or you worked in overtime. If you're salary, that doesn't matter. Unfortunately, that they're getting free. They're gonna get some extra hours out of you. But if you're an hourly person, really take time and see like how much money do I really make and bring home. So when I say bring home, don't look at your gross. Sometimes when we think ability to afford something, we want to look at our gross
Yeah,
wages.
yeah,
Whenever you're going to do any financial investment, anything, they look at net.
yeah.
Even when it's a business, everybody looks at your net profit, meaning what did you bring home after you paid all the people you're supposed to pay, and this is the money you were able to bring home now, first of all,
Mhm,
from that paycheck to start even spending. And
mhm,
once you bring that money home, now you're saying, okay, what are the main things that need to be taken care of first and foremost? Always prioritize your bills, folks. Once you get rid of all those bills, then this is how much money you realistically have to work with. If you're putting off paying a bill, then you're not affording whatever extra lifestyle piece you're trying
Yeah.
to afford.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, just real quick here, let me, if I can answer touch here a little bit, then we'll touch on what you just, I mean, what you just went over, right? It's like, so touch, right? There are so many tools out there that you can help organize a budget. As I said, these days, technology have made it easier, right? There are so many apps out there, right? If you are tech savvy. But the one easy tool that has been around since
Kevin was a
Microsoft,
pup.
yeah, it's Excel. Excel, as I said,
Yep.
Excel is a great tool, right? Is like I said, you can download your bank statement into Excel and it can help you, right? Kind of itemize it, right? Is okay, this is where this belongs. Even the banks now, right, can help you kind of itemize that. They will tell you and you just download it and then you go over it and say, okay, this like groceries, rent, if you are renting or your mortgage, utilities, where a couple of stuff falls under there, cell phone and things like that. So it kind of itemize it for you. It make it easier for you. Now there are things, right, that might not be visible, like subscriptions, right? It's like you might have 2 or 3 subscriptions that they might not be calling out, but you know them, right? You might check. Oh God, I have Netflix. I have maybe Hulu. I have Disney Plus and things like that, and it helps you, right, kind of itemize it. So once you see that, right, you can use that very template, right, to budget like for 2025, right? If you download your 2024 statements and you see, gosh, this is where I spend my money, and then you can kind of use that as a starting place to kind of a budget for the what for the current year or the new year, right? And to Miss B point, now that to Miss B point, right? In everything of budgeting, you gotta know what is coming in and what is going out.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what she was just talking about, right? You gotta know what is coming in and what is going up. What is coming in, if you are employee, pushing the hours like like some of us here, right? Is like what is what your employer is paying you, right? And your net. Every month, put that down, right? It's like put into a spreadsheet. Okay, this is mine. Maybe you make $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month. Now, right, that's your income. That's your monthly income. And then the second piece of that is you take all of your expenses, your mortgage, what if you have a house, your rent, as I said, your utility, your cell phone bill, food, take everything, and plug it against that, right? Your expenses, you plug it against that. Okay. If like unfortunately, there are a lot of folks, especially in our immigrant community, right? And when they put that in, sometimes right, they don't break even, or sometimes they are underwater, right? But that's what you look at. Okay, you know what? I have all of those, right? That's what I said. Your bank statement can help you, right? Say, okay, damn, last year I made like maybe like $50,000. But looking at my expenses, right? I spent $60,000. Where do I
Yeah.
cut? Where
Yeah.
do I cut? And things like that. And then that kind of there's a great segue to what we call smart goals in budgeting and finance. Smart goals. And smart means just the way I'm pronouncing it is
Smart.
SMA. Yeah,
ART.
SMART. Smart goals, right? It's like smart goals. And so it's like first the S stand for what? Specific. Your
Yep.
goals have to be very, very specific. So Miss B, do you set smart goals? Are your goals like when you are setting your goals for the year? Do you set smart goals?
Yes, first I want to say I
Mhm.
like to do what is called a retreat, right?
Okay. Hmm.
And you have to set time, make time for this. That's the thing
Yeah.
we need to really think about. Setting time, take a weekend off whenever your allocated day off is, and then set time to do this exercise that we're talking about. So yes, specific goals like this year, 2025, we're planning a Sweet 16.
Hmm.
So these are some of our specific things that we will do this year, no matter what. We're planning a Sweet 16. We are planning another property purchase,
Hmm.
right? So these are some of the specific things we're going to do. And in order to do that, you're like, okay, how do you budget for that? Well, location,
Well,
venue,
before you
all those
before you go
things.
forward, right? Let me
Oh,
just so you ready, then you can continue, right? So what you say right there, right? That you listing your specific goals, meaning that you are defining exactly what it is that you are going to do for 2025, right? So
yeah,
that's what the S stand for in that smart goal. You gotta be specific, right? Don't just say,
yeah.
hey, I wanna do this, I want to do that. No, you gotta be specific. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, those are the two main things that we're hoping to do this year. And like
Mhm.
Abraham said, so far we have 6 trips on the calendar.
Mhm.
When I say on the calendar, not necessarily have been paid for and everything, but already looking at, okay, are those 6 trips, are they all like compulsory? Do we have to take them this year? And I'm already thinking maybe I'm gonna narrow it down to at least cut off 2 of them that don't have to happen. And
Mhm.
so one of the trips that are in there is like every year we like to travel for my daughter's spring break.
Okay.
But because we're doing her Sweet 16 this year, we
Mhm.
can cut off the spring break. So we're gonna
Okay.
save money. We're
Yep.
gonna save money right there, right? And so
Yep.
that's how Pacific we are really being this year. Because it's getting closer to college.
Yep.
We want to plan more money saving this year for college.
Mhm.
2027 is her college year. That's her 18 year. And we're
Mhm.
talking buying car, all
Yeah.
those things. And
Yeah.
so we want to start being specific about budgeting for that already. Even though if it's 3 years away from now, we're
Yeah.
going to be 2025 saying, okay, we're going to increase the amount that we're saving for her college. And so
Yeah.
those are some of the specifics for this year.
So see, folks, that's it right there, right? That's what the SME in what the SMART goal, right? You got to be specific. You cannot
Yes.
be vague. And I know for a lot of our people, because we have the tendency of, it's like, I mean, with all the social media influencers out there, sometimes you see your friend doing something, oh gosh, but you got to be specific, right? Don't be vague about it. And you got to be intentional to about it, right? So you got to be very, very specific. And then the second word in that SMART is what? M, measurable. It has to be measurable. So like Miss B is saying, right? Is that okay? They plenty of Sweet 16, right? For their daughter, she's turning 16, right? How much they're gonna cost? Or the 6 trips she was talking about, right? How much are they gonna cost? You have to be measurable. You got to measure them. You cannot just
Yes.
say, I'm gonna go to Hawaii or Honolulu for my daughter's Sweet 16, and not knowing maybe like how much that trip is going to cost you, for hotel or how many days. It has to be measurable. If you cannot
Yes.
measure it, then you're not setting a goal.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's true. It has to be measurable,
Mhm.
especially how much a property costs, the down payment, right? I know when people
Mhm.
think about investing in property, I'm not
Yeah.
about to take $200,000 and buy something, but based on what we're trying to buy. So we're saying nothing less than 4 units. So we're looking at anything from 4 to 8 units. Hoping, so you're thinking about maybe a half a million to 1.5, and then depending on that, the down payment would change depending on that. So it's 5% of that amount is what we're going to need for down payment plus additional closing costs. So we're
Okay.
calculating all of those things as we measure these specific goals that we have set. The vacation, you think about points. Do you have some travel points, sky miles?
Mhm.
And so all of those things can be factored into your budgeting as your whatever things that you rewards, cash rewards, credit card, cash rewards, from your bank, from using your bank card, your everyday debit card, all of those things you can utilize those tools to be able to help you measure and make sure that you have the necessary amount that you need.
Yeah, and if you are now an investor like Miss B, or if just a layman, and things like that, right? It's like the way you can measure, like if you want to buy a house, there's some maybe 2025 is a day, like it's a year you decided, you know what, I'm sick of renting, I'm tired of renting. So what she's talking about, right, is like if you're trying to buy a house, right, it's like you already price that house, you have to do, you know what I mean? Things okay, what it is that you want to buy. There's some like, you know what, maybe you want to live in the Broken Park area, and then maybe houses in Broken Park on average cost $500,000, right? Is that whatever your down payment is, that's going to be. Obviously, you don't have to come up with $500,000, but you have to know how much your down payment is going to be, and if you want to go above that, right? It kind of you measure that, right? You put that aside. Say, okay, this is what I mean. You put down your budget. Say, hey, for my for my house purchase this year, right? For my house purchase this year, I will need maybe like 20,000 or 25,000. Now you put down your budget, right? So you have to put things that are measurable, right? Even if like your groceries, if you have to, like when you look at how much you spent last year, when you are budgeting this year, you have to know how much you are putting there for grocery. You cannot just put a grocery in there and say that's a budget. No, you cannot just these things have to be measurable, because we'll get to it later. We'll get to the second one, but the third word in there is what? A, achievable. It has to be achievable,
Achievable,
meaning.
attainable.
Exactly, right? Achievable,
Yes.
attainable. So it's like you have to set realistic goals, right? Don't just say, let's assume, hey, maybe you want to buy a house, but have you? I mean, you can just get up one day and say you want to buy a house, though, right? Are you
No,
having any kind of a savings? So you
no
have to set realistic goals that are what, based on your income.
income.
Yeah. So Miss
Yes,
B, though, like the things you are talking about, right? The things you are talking about, planning of doing this year. I'm sure those are realistic goals for you that you guys, that you and your family have worked, have thought about. Now you are
yes,
setting those, right? Those are things that if you decide to go to move forward with them, those are things you believe that you can achieve.
yes. And
Mhm.
sometimes a trip is cheaper than a party. So I'm excited about that.
Mm,
The trip is going huh? The trip is going to be cheaper than the party because when I
mhm,
see again social media
mhm, mhm,
influences us. When I
mhm,
see the kind of extravagant Sweet 16 birthday parties my folks are throwing around here, I'm like, I don't know if I can afford that. And so whereas $5,000 for a party and versus $3,000 for a trip that a whole family gets to go on and enjoy, I
mhm,
think it's more feasible and measurable and attainable for me.
mhm, mhm,
And so that's why I would say, some people would say, well, you're going to Hawaii for the Sweet 16.
mhm.
That sounds expensive.
Yeah,
For me, that's cheaper than it would have cost me to sit here and have a party to
yeah,
invite 200 to 250 people, rent a
yeah,
hall,
yeah.
right? Decorate the hall,
Mhm,
cooking,
mhm.
food, liquor. It would have far exceed how much this trip is going to cost me. So sometimes that's what we talk about. What's more attainable? The
Mhm.
trip is more attainable to me than the party.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's a good point. Right? A little bit of segue here, is like maybe like she might not even, if you guys decide to stay here, she might even enjoy it, right? Because sometimes, especially we African, we have a tendency, like being as well, we're having party for the kids. It turned
So
out to
take it
be,
over.
yeah, it
Yeah.
turned out to be older folks. It turned out to be older folks' party. But anyways, it's like so. Yeah, so that's definitely right. It's like obviously right. The trip to Hawaii is achievable because obviously weighing the pros and cons. You say, hey, if I decide, you have decided to do the Sweet 16, right? Because she's turning 16. So now the question is, should you do it here or should you do it away? And you decided, you know
Yes.
what, it's far cheaper to do it away, and that is more achievable. So to Anna question here quick is like, let me just address that, right? How can you set a budget when you have these kids that are so expensive, right? They all want expensive thing. Obviously, right? That's a good question for parents. That is something every parent in this country, right? Is like raising kids in this country is so expensive. But that should not, right? That should not deter you from what? From setting a budget, right? Even if
Mhm.
you're what going over those budget because of those kids every year, right? That should not, like, I would tell you, um, like like the kids are so expensive, right? Is like definitely is like, and for me, I go involved. I try to go above and beyond for my kids. So that is very expensive, and sometimes, because of that, I sometimes blow through my budget because there are certain things, as you said, right? When it comes to life experiences or things that I need to do for them, I feel like it's non-negotiable, right? You know what I mean, and things like that. So sometimes, I set this budget, right? I set a budget for the year, but I blow through them, or I blow through specific line item like I told you before, right? Like buying them food. It's something like, it's like every day, buying them food, McDonald's, Chipotle,
It's
everywhere.
sometimes the convenience though, right? It's like, oh my gosh,
Exactly.
by the
Yeah.
time you look up, it's
Yeah.
dinner time,
Yeah.
and it's quicker for me to just go buy food at this time than to say I'm
Hmm.
gonna come and cook something, right?
Yeah.
And so we pay for convenience. That is a very much a choice that I often have to decide. Do
Hmm.
I cook the food myself or do I go buy it and have extra time to rest, right? And so some strategy there is the meal prepping, buying groceries, enough groceries for the week so
Hmm.
that way you have it on hand. Instacart groceries, so you don't have an excuse if you don't go to the grocery store. That's another tool you can use.
Yeah.
That's a subscription. I would say you should. It's worth the investment because I think $10 every month,
Mm.
and then you don't have to pay the delivery fee, right?
Okay. For me, I'm trying to get folks out of subscription and you promote this subscription. But anyway.
No, but
But,
some
but
subscriptions
yeah.
are
Yeah.
worth it. Like for you, if you're a single dad or a single parent, period, if you
Hmm.
can order food from like HelloFresh, where it's
Hmm.
packaged, the
Hmm.
meal is packaged for 5 days and it
Hmm.
comes to you right now, your 14-year-old daughter has all the ingredients for each meal that she can just go in the kitchen and cook. Because sometimes going to the grocery store, you may end up spending a lot of money too because you
Yeah.
don't know what your meals are that you're going to cook. What are the foods you're going to cook? And so it helps when you have those type of subscriptions that can help you to manage your spending when it comes to groceries.
Yeah. So tonight, folks, we are talking about new year, new budget. We just started 2025 financial goal setting. That's our focus tonight. You can call our number 817-600-1525. If you have strategies or tips, on how to budget, and things like that. It is a new year. While you're setting all the other goals, do not forget your financial goal, because that's what makes a huge difference, right? It makes a huge, huge difference. So do not forget your financial goal setting. So right now we are discussing SMART goals. We have talked about the S, specific, right? The M, measurable, the A, achievable, and then now we are on the R, right? It's like, once it is achievable, it's like it also has to be what? Relevant, right? It has to align with your what? With your life priorities. Miss B, as I'm gathering for you, right? This year, your life priority is number one, investments. Number two, your daughter, sweet 16, right? You know what I mean? Things like that. And
Those
then,
are the two things, main
yeah, and
things, to
then
be honest.
you also don't want to forget, your
My
traveling,
travels.
yeah, and things like that. So right, so it's like so your budget kind of align with those what three priorities, right?
Yes.
Three life priorities. Anything else? Obviously, your mortgage, your living expenses. Those are things, right? Those are what we call recurring expenditures. Those things
Yes.
like every that you cannot really get rid of them. They are
No,
there
I
every
can't.
year and things like that. So they are all part of your priorities. So basically, you have your recurring expenditures for you this year in 2025, your daughter's 316, your investment, and also while you're traveling. Do you want to
Mhm.
expand on those?
So I think relevant can kind of go back to the question the person asked about the kids.
Mm-hmm,
What are we purchasing for these kids? That is it relevant?
mm-hmm,
Right? I
mm-hmm,
think a lot of us, that's great. I see a lot of us in the community, our incomes have increased. We're living a lot better than before.
mm-hmm,
And I think we become competitive with each other as far as what our kids are wearing and what we can afford to buy our kids. Again, I want people to really be realistic about this word afford.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Afford is after you have taken care of all the relevant expenses
Yeah.
and the money you have left over that you're working with is what we're talking afford, right? Because there are just certain things I'm not going to buy for my daughter at this age and stage, right? We're not buying Balenciagas. We're not buying Prada. She's
Right.
not, no, she's not wearing Gucci, you
Okay.
know, the kids will be like, well, you're wearing it. Hello, I'm the one who's been working. You know how
Mm-hmm.
many years it took me
Yeah.
to get to this income level to
Yeah.
be able to afford
Mm-hmm.
luxury items? So yes, and even then I'm telling myself, no, I'm not prioritizing those luxury items over, real benefits, right? Like investing my money in places where I know I'm going to get it back. Once
Yeah.
I bought that luxury item, I'm not going to get anything back from it. That money is gone, never to return again.
Exactly.
And
And
so,
that's
yeah, the
anything.
relevant things
Yeah.
are because investment, like they're relevant because they're things that are going to help me to pay for stuff later on in the future. If
Mm-hmm.
I have a property with a good amount of equity in it, then I don't have to worry about saving for college, right? I have a backup plan. I can take out the equity from that home to help pay for college. So that's why the things that I'm prioritizing right now, folks,
Mm-hmm.
do what you got to do now so you can get to do what you want later. That's why it's relevant for me right now.
Okay. Yeah, and other thing too, right? I'm glad you brought up the kids too, right? I mean, as you said in those budget, right? Sometimes it's okay to say no to your kids. As I said,
Yes, tell them
like in
no.
2024, right? Because I can say my kids are sport. I mean, a lot of people refer to them as sport brides. I myself sometimes, but one thing I denied them in 2024, right? There was no Christmas, right? It's
Yes.
like previous year we are putting up Christmas, Christmas tree. The year before, I think 2 years ago, took them to Disney World for like a 2 week trip, right? It's like, and things like that, right? It's like so it's like, I've done a couple of things, right? So it's like last year looking at it, man, okay, first of all, Christmas is just one day. I know they get so excited about it. They put under their list together. They send me a long list, me and the mom, they send out a long list. And I just said no. I told her, I said, hey, if you want to go ahead and do that, that's on you. But for me,
And they
right?
didn't die.
I'm going to,
They
yeah,
did
exactly.
not.
First of all, I didn't notice any difference, right? They were only mad, right? And things like that. But I
Yeah,
didn't notice any difference. Nothing changed,
nothing
and things
changed.
like that. So the one day came and passed and everything is okay. As I said, they were only mad for the time leading to Christmas, and right after Christmas, that was done and that
And
was
you've
it.
made a huge influence on me. I'm going to do that this year. You
Yeah.
really have. And
Yeah.
so what I told her was like, okay, um, maybe some of those things that you wait till the end of the year to tell me to get you, let's do them throughout the year too. Because not to say so much of the things were expensive, and some of them were things that she need, because there was some clothing item in there and
Mhm.
shoes. But what really upset me was everything was forced upon me in that one December month, right?
Mhm.
And like I said, we're already working with the budget. We already have all these things planned. And then Christmas is this one day, but it's costing us an arm and a leg. And so I'm just like, let's not squeeze everything into Christmas. Let's look at what are the things that are really important for you to get throughout the year and budget for getting them, right? Like
Mhm.
I told her, church clothes. We're gonna go this weekend and we're only gonna shopping for church clothes, right? So we can't have an excuse of not being able to go to church. And that's the way you can kind of say, you know what, kids, this month, these are the things that we're going to focus on purchasing because it makes sense. And, those are different ways you can work things out with your kids. I'm so done with this Christmas. Mm-mm. You,
Okay.
you, you have started a trend, Abe.
Okay. Okay.
You
Okay.
have started a
Well,
trend.
with that, folks, tonight we are discussing new year, new budget, financial goal setting. We are just going over the SMART goals. It's like, those goals, they got to be specific, got to be measurable, got to be achievable, it got to be relevant. Before we go to the last letter of that word, right? It's like you can call our number 817-600-1525. Again, 817-600-1525. If you want to contribute, if you have strategies, if you have questions, if you have tips. Miss B and I don't have all the answers, right? Budgeting when it comes to financial stuff, right? It's like you might know more, you might know more than us, right? But it's just something our community needs to kind of adapt, right? It's like Inner Circle Pack that those are the things we want to focus on, right? I think in our community we have a tendencies of overlooking our finances. And I truly believe financial education is the best education. It's like if you don't have financial education, sometimes everything else, becomes so difficult. So with that, you can also comment in the chat, if you have, and then we'll keep display your comments for everyone to see. But the
Yeah.
last
Call in
word,
and share your nuggets. Let us know
yeah,
what tools are working for you.
exactly. And the last letter in our is T, right? It has to be time bound, right? It's like if you are setting goals for 2025, you cannot say I want to buy a house in 2025 and then you think in 2026. No, that means what that item, right, should not go into 2025. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Put it off. Let Miss B, right? Okay, she has a what priorities. One, she want to continue investing. She want to do her trips. Her daughter is turning 16, so her sweet 16 is something on her priority list and things like that, right? And then her recurring expenditures. Those are things, right, that are time bound, right? She got to put here. She got to pay her mortgage every month, right? This year, so it's like every month she got to pay that mortgage. She know how much her mortgage is. She just put that in her either a budgeting app or in her spreadsheet and things like that. There are expenses that are very expensive, right? And sometimes I say like buying food for my kids because they want to eat everywhere. Chipotle price might change, right, because of inflation, right? So those are things sometimes might be very expensive. But there are certain things that are set. I mean, your mortgage is
Yeah.
set, your cell phone bill is set. Those are things that you can easily, right? Like forecast, for the entire year, right? And it has to be time bound, right? Okay, you know what? You forecast to spend maybe 10,000 on your mortgage, right? It's like, hey, that is something this year, it's 10,000 you're gonna spend. Miss B maybe like might say, hey, uh she might like her daughter's sweet 16, she already know how much she's gonna spend, and you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and then she's gonna what do it what in August,
Yep.
right? Okay, you
Yep.
know what I mean. So it has to be
Yep.
time bound. So that's why it is.
Yes.
That's the T in our smart goals. It has to be time bound, things like that. So,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and you want to expound on that?
Yeah, everything needs to have a deadline in order for you to know that you're going to be able to achieve it. Like,
Mhm.
Abraham is saying. And like I did was our trips are already set for the different months when they're going to happen ahead of time. what the occasion is for why we're going, and the length of days each trip is going to happen. All of that is already set. And what I'm going to do now is go and look at airfare across the board for each trip. And then I'm going to put all of that. You know what is my best friend? My cell phone, right? And it's easily accessible for everybody. So there's an app in there, folks, that is called Notes. And so I keep notes. See right there, you see where it says 2020. I don't know if you guys can see how it says 2025 trips. I'm on it, right? And so I go in my keep notes, and then I'm going to break every trip down. I'm going to put in airfare, going to put in rental car, I'm going to put in hotel. Those are the three biggest things that you budget for when you're taking a trip. You don't know how much you're going to spend on food and, you know, pocket change or whatever. When all the big stuff is taken care of, and say, you know what? Oh, sorry, I had technical difficulties. Oh,
No, that's fine. That's fine. You're good. Are you back?
I
Okay.
can hear you.
Yeah. And then, you know, listen, so what she was talking about there is kind of about just breaking goals, right, into segments, right, little segments, and then, you know, like smaller segments and things like that. The other thing to hit, like, if her trip, right, her data trip she was just talking about, right, those trips, right, breaking them down, see how much each of it is going to cost, right. Once you figure that out, you know, then she can say, okay, you know what, if the airfare is going to cost, maybe like, you know, for the family of three, right? If it's going to be $3,000, right? That is something she obviously put that in her budget. If it's going to be maybe like $5,000, you know, that's what she said, right? If the entire trip itself, right, including the party and all those stuff, right? Because when they get it, they have to have a party for, you know, for the daughter, for for the Sweet 16. So it's like, you know, she have to put all of those in that budget, whether in a spreadsheet or in a budgeting app. The other thing that is very, very important, once you have set your budget for the year, it is very important to say, okay, hey man, how much are you going to put aside to make sure that, as I mentioned earlier, these things have to be achievable, realistic, and relevant to what it is that you're trying to do. If they are not, you know, you cannot assume that that you want to do that. Welcome back, Miss B. You know,
Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties. I don't know what happened. But
that's
yeah,
fine.
like he was saying, I was just saying how you can segment things,
Hmm.
think major things, especially for
Yeah.
trip planning, and then the other things
Hmm.
um, for your budgeting.
Okay, and that's the thing, right? And again, as you set your 2025 goals, right? You gotta think about what it is that you want to achieve this year, right? Your priorities, you know, Miss B has her priorities and things like that. So you also have to know yours, right? Definitely not know yours. So now we get to creating your new year budget, right? Creating your new
Hmm.
year budget. What it is that should go into your new year budget. As I said, Miss B have listed hers, right? Miss B have listed hers here, right? You gotta know your life priorities. And as I mentioned earlier, your recurring expenditure, like Miss B mentioned earlier, your life expenses, things that you need to live your life here right now, right? You know, your daily, your monthly expenses. Those are things you cannot overlook, right? They have to be in that budget. You cannot say, oh, you know what, the rent is rent, you know, and things like that. So I'm going to avoid, I'm
Oh,
not going to
Father
put that into
God.
the budget. No, 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 no. You have to. Because your budget has to be measured against your income. As you said earlier, right? If you list all of these things and they come up to $5,000, you're only making $3,000. Now you gotta go back and say, hey, what gives, right?
Yeah.
What gives? You know what I mean? And things like that. So what gives? And so you have to, you know, you have to be very, very careful, right? You cannot just say, hey, I want to, like, as you said, with so many influencers on social media these days, you might see something, oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then you just go list bunch of things in your budget that are not realistic. They don't align with your goals, but just because maybe sometimes you want to please the crowd, say you just run with them.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I really want to stress the importance of this budgeting, because, and really looking at our finance, people out here working overtime, the wear and tear on your body. We talk about health as wealth, right? For me, honestly, right, my self-care, I really prioritize that. Self-care for me is the time that I spent just not doing anything, right? Having a good time to rest my body, rest your mind, right? Because even sometimes when you're sitting down, you're worried and stressed. We've lost a lot of people in the community, folks, from to heart attack, and that heart attack is really normally caused by stress. A lot of that is caused by stress.
Mhm.
And people are stressing over these bills
Mhm.
because we're living above our means. And it's very true what Abraham just said. You know, if you have only $3,000 a month, you should not be working and spending $5,000 a month. That's not realistic at all.
Mhm.
And your ability to be able to go to work is very important. And so if you have to do a wear and tear on your body every month to be able to make the 5,000 when realistically all you really can make is 3,000, then you're not helping yourself in the long run at all. So budgeting is really going to come be honest with yourself and say, wow, this is really what I'm working with, but this is what I want to be working with. And so you have to figure out what are the things that you can do to make more money,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, and
And
then
that's what budgeting can help you to do.
yeah, and then yeah, so it's like right to that, right? That's a great segue here, right? It's like so there are steps to budgeting, right? The first one, you have to assess your income. You know, how much are you making, right? Whether and sometimes, you know, one of the thing about America, right? Sometimes the 9 to 5 or whatever shift you work, right? Sometimes can hardly call it. So you have to know, right? You have to assess your income. If maybe
Yeah.
you're only doing one job or there's no side hustle and there's nothing else coming and that's the only job you have, right? You have to make sure you align your expenses with that income. So you have to assess your income. And to a point, right? Maybe you might have to say, you know what, this year if I want to do X, Y, and Z, maybe I might pick up extra shift or maybe get another job or maybe try to do another, try to do a side hustle, right? So you have to assess your income, right? Know what it is that you are bringing in, because you have to align. And then the second thing is you have to track your expenses. You have to get into the habit of tracking your expenses, right? You
Oh
cannot just
yeah.
go, is that you going through life, right? Just living, right? And that's sometimes, taking a step back, right? To take track of your life. God, maybe looking back at this, God, what have I achieved, right? I have been on this eye for like 41 years. What have I done with my life, right? It's like, so you have to track your expenses. It's very, very important to track your expenses. So the steps of budgeting: one, assess your income. Two, track your expenses and things like that. And then the third one is you prioritizing your savings. It's like if I know saving is hard. Saving is very, very, it's very, very hard to do, especially in this country, right? I mean, the way inflation, the inflationary environment that we live in, things are so expensive, so it's hard to save. And then, as Anna mentioned earlier, right, is like, in her comment, having kids, even makes it more and more difficult, right, to save and things like that. But you got to start small. Even if $5, you might think it's small, but there's a saying, right, in my local data, it said like little by little, fills a river, fills a cup. Sometimes a little drop. Start somewhere, right? Start somewhere. It might be that
Yeah.
it's tough, right? It's like maybe $5, $10, $15.
And so like there's this thing called the 50-30-20. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you know about the 50-30-20, Abraham.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
there's a app called Nerd Wallet. So
Yeah,
as we're talking about
that's a
tools.
good app. Yeah, that's a good app.
Yeah. And so I like he's promoting it. We highly recommend Nerd Wallet and the
Mm-hmm.
50-30. So 50-30 is like 50% goes to your needs. 20% goes to your savings and debt repayment, and then 30% is wants, right? So let's just take the $3,000 budget. $3,000 is after taxes. This is the money that gets put into your account. So
Mm-hmm.
50% of that 3,000 already should go towards your necessities.
Mm-hmm.
900 can go for wants and 600 for savings and debt pay down. So again, when we talk about savings, take care of those debts like student loans, car notes,
Mm-hmm.
credit cards. Take care of those debts. And then maybe at the end of the day, when you have $600 for your debt and you're taking care of those debts, maybe you only have $50 to save. Don't be ashamed of the fact that you only have $50 to save. Sometimes that's all I have to save too. Me, very much so. All I
Mm-hmm.
have to save sometimes is $50. $50, it adds, everything adds up. So save it, put it away, keep as little as much as you can afford to save it. Meaning what you can afford to save. Don't be saving money and then here it is, you're behind on your bills, you're behind on your rent, you're behind on your mortgage. So try that 50-30-20 rule. Try Nerd Wallet this year, 2025, for your budgeting. It really, really works and it helps.
Yeah, and then for our community, I mean, for our community, especially Liberians, there's this thing called susu, right? I know sometimes a lot of Liberians, a lot of Liberians, do susu. They are into susu, but I think one of the pitfalls of susu that I've seen, right, is that people go like sometimes put their whole weekly or monthly or bi-weekly paycheck in there, right? What can you guys organize a susu, right? Use as a saving tool and say, you know what, $50. I'm not going to touch it. We have our susu mother or susu father. Just say, hey, and let that just be like perpetual. Obviously, when it comes to the issue of trust, it is in our community. But you can use that very concept, right? Instead of maybe giving it to someone as a susu, you can put it on your mattress. You can put it somewhere that you can never get to.
And I,
But
I've
then, but then,
never, I've never invested in those things. It's just me savings. It
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter what you do, how you look at it. The
Hmm.
susu is a savings, and
It
basically
is.
your
It is the same.
ability to
Yeah.
not be able to trust yourself to save your money is why you believe in the susu. You're
Hmm.
not getting any extra money from nobody. So they're
Hmm.
like, oh, I will get 15,000 for my susu. You've saved up $15,000. That's what
15,000.
you've done,
Now,
basically.
the question is,
Yeah.
once you collect that susu, what do you do with that $15,000? Do you go back and just blow everything up and then start over?
They they go and put down payment for a car. They go buy that
Okay, okay.
Lexus
But that's
or
the same
that
concept,
Jag.
right? To your point, right? To your point. I just want to bring that up. Like, I mean, a lot of our Liberian folks engage in susu. So that's the same concept. You can use that susu concept, right? To actually save. And the last piece of steps to budgeting is like you got to adjust your budget, right? Once you have gone through the process, the hard work of setting those budget, right? You cannot be that rigid. You got to adjust. Life changes, things might happen. We live in America where things can happen anytime. You might wake up one day, your car can't start. you did, you
Emergency fund.
imagine,
Emergency
well,
fund.
yeah,
Yeah.
and why, yeah, and certain might happen though that might blow through those emergency funds, right? Or maybe you did not plan to bring your emergency funds into your budget in this year, but then it happens, right? So you have to
Yeah.
adjust them. You have to definitely adjust
I
them.
have
So
an app for that. It's called
okay,
Optune. Optune
okay.
is an app that I use. So I've set a rainy day budget in that
Mhm,
app and an emergency fund budget in that app.
mhm,
And what the app does, it looks at, it's almost like it's doing the 50-30-20 for me, right? As an
mhm,
app. So
mhm.
what the app does is connected to my bank account. It looks at how much money I'm keeping in there daily, and then it automatically calculates, okay, and then it takes out money. So sometimes it may take out $56, sometimes it may take out $100,
Mhm,
depending on the fact that maybe I just got money sitting in my checking account, no bills need to be paid, it's just sitting there. I
mhm.
like when that app takes that money out of my checking account because then I don't see it. It's my way of susu, basically, because then I don't see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
see it and I forget. And then sometimes I do be like, but where did all my money go? I can't trust Wells Fargo. Now let
yeah,
me check my app. And by the time I turn around, that app has allocated $1,000
yeah.
into my rainy day and my emergency fund. I was like,
Pretty
and
cool.
then I didn't even realize, like, wow. So I was able to save $1,000, I guess.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
yeah, so it's good when you have some of these tools that
Mhm.
can help you to do some of these savings and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And then once you have gone through the steps of creating a budget, right? The other thing now is that once you have that budget, you gotta stay accountable throughout the year. Accountability, and that's something we struggle with in our community. You gotta be accountable. You gotta hold yourself accountable. Accountability has to be within there. Maybe you can't say, hey, I budgeted like Miss B, her sweet 16 for her daughter. And then she decide, once she gets to Hawaii, she just gonna go. She's just gonna go wild because man,
I'm gonna go
Hawaii is
local.
fun, it's sunny, there's so much to do, and she just maybe that she budgeted $10,000, but she's just gonna blow through that thing, and then you say, you know what, one life to live.
No, all the excursions and activities I'm planning from here. So we
Yeah.
don't go there and get crazy and our eyes,
Mhm,
start jumping out of our heads. No, we're gonna
mhm,
plan everything from here. And like
definitely.
we said, have a budget. So when we
Mhm.
get there, you don't get off track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like, obviously, you gotta be consistent, right? Consistency throughout is the key. You gotta stay consistent. Once you said that, you cannot like, hey, like if you're planning 5 trips and then out of a sudden, right, it's like you say, hey, maybe you want to do 10 trips now. Right. You gotta be consistent. You gotta stay within that budget that you said, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and there, one of the two things, as we mentioned earlier, maybe like emergency might happen that's out of your control. Life happens that might be out of your control, but consistency is key. If you want to make sure that they get into the habit of, having a good financial habit, setting budget, sticking by it, you got to be consistent. You got to be very, very consistent, because if you're not consistent, forget about it. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing too, right, is that you got to set like monthly reviews. Do you do that, right? Once you set your budget, right? Do you do monthly reviews?
No, that's our, and
Why
we
not? Why
really
not?
told ourselves, we really told ourselves that we have to be disciplined this year and really stick to things that we are saying we're going to do and how we do it. It's hard. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we're adults and we get distracted.
Hmm.
And like you said, things come up.
Hmm.
But we like all of the things that we're talking about here are things that Abe and I are actually doing, or we want to get better at doing as well. And so the monthly review thing is the thing that really we need to get better at doing, as far as this is what we said was going to look like, be looking like. And so it's looking at all the different apps, all the different places, all the different places we have put information can be difficult to keep track. I have a desk, I have an office at home, I have a whiteboard. Then you go in my bedroom, we have post-its on the wall.
Okay, so yeah,
We
so
have
yeah, I mean,
charts.
yeah. To your point, yeah, to your point. For me, like, I do not like schedule a monthly review, right? But like, when the month ends, I see, okay, where did I come in at, right? Okay, my monthly expenditure was budgeted at $5,000. I go through it. Gosh, maybe I spent $6,000. Then I start going through it. I say, okay, where did I overspend, right? Or where did I underspend, right? Is that where do I need to cut? So that, because right, because a yearly budget, but then maybe the first month, maybe like I said, hey, I'm going to spend 20,000 this year, but then the first 3 months I've already spent I've already spent 10. That's a huge rate, because there's still 9 months left. So
Yes.
it's good to have those monthly reviews, right? Or quarterly
It's
review, or
good.
whatever you're comfortable with, quarterly review,
Yeah,
right?
I check in. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
every
yeah,
month
yeah, yeah, to see where
consistently,
you
but
are,
I
to see where
definitely check in. Yeah.
yeah, to see where you are. And then,
Yeah.
for our folks out there, right? The other thing too, right? If you are just starting this whole thing, we are not telling you to just go and start today, but it's something is good to get into the habits. So you know what? If last year was your first year of starting, or this is your first year to start, right? To set a goal, financial goal, a budget, celebrate the small wins, right? Hey,
Yes.
maybe like you told yourself, I was only going to spend $100 on groceries, and you achieved that. Celebrate, man. You know what I mean? Be proud of yourself. You say, you know what? I'm getting there. Small, small. Celebrate the small wins.
And get an accountability partner. So even if you're a married couple,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
y'all find
Definitely.
another couple
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hold each
yeah,
other
yeah.
accountable with. Or if you're an individual, find somebody, another friend or partner, somebody to hold you accountable and be like, oh my man,
Mhm.
where are you at? Oh, this is where I'm at. No, we set that budget. You do your budget, I did my budget. Okay, where you at? And at the end of the month, you don't have to do it alone. And then it's a thing you can include the kids into.
Yeah.
Because I think historically we don't our a lot of our parents never taught us about budgeting. None of our parents really taught us about credit, about paying bills, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
understanding the expenses and income and all those things. So like involve your kids in it now, and they're
mhm,
never too small. Even $5, like you can buy books for your 5-year-old that talks
mhm,
about money savings and talks about money and growing wealth, right? And so
mhm,
they're never too small to be having these conversations with. So include the family, include the kids when it
mhm.
comes to this budgeting.
Yeah. And then, if you want to, trust, Saku as your, to be in your financial journey, right? It's like, so we are here every Wednesday sharing these
Every
tips.
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday sharing these tips. So if you want to include us in your financial goal setting, your financial journey, you come here, what? Share tips. If you have questions, as I said, we might not know all the answers, right? But that's what they have expert out there, right? We've been bringing on expert here to, along the way, right? To be helping us here. But it is very, very important, right? As I said, and then when it comes to the accountability piece, right? Don't just do it by yourself. As Miss B said, right? Involve family members, share your goals with trusted partners and things like that. And then the last piece in that is like it's just the mindset shift. I think that's what our community needs to get into, the mindset shift, right? It's like do not see goal setting, do not see budgeting as something so restrictive, right? See it as something that's going to empower your financial freedom, something that's going to help you,
Yes.
something that's going to help you achieve your financial freedom. Because, man, it's like imagine yourself one day, right, on that beach, in the Bahamas, laying down there, enjoying yourself and your money working for you. So, see budgeting, as that to kind of get to the ultimate financial goal, because you got to be disciplined in it, and things like that. So it's like, Don't see us so restricted. Don't see it. Oh, that thing for only broke people. No, it's for it's for everybody. Oh, that thing is only for people in finance. No, it's for
So
everybody.
don't beat yourself up about it. Don't feel bad. Don't be ashamed, right? When you start to really look at the numbers, it's okay. Nobody is better than the next person, right? We all have to do it little by little. A little goes a long way, right? And so just start. I think the worst thing you could do is not try at all. So just start somewhere, and just try and prioritize this. Like Abraham says, we all want to be retired at 55 these days. No more waiting for 65 to retire. And we want to be on that beach somewhere. Don't let these kids take all your money. No.
Yeah, yeah, realize that every dollar you manage today, right, gets you closer to your financial goal. Every dollar
Yeah.
counts. As I said earlier,
Yeah.
little by little makes a difference. So don't forget that. Keep doing it, keep doing the little things. And financial goal setting, isn't about just the numbers, right? It's about creating a life you want. Right? It's like,
Yes.
creating, as I said, you want to. I imagine myself on some kind of a beach in the Bahamas. I love this. I don't know how I found myself in Minnesota, but I love, I love warm
Me
weather.
too.
So
What
one
I
of these
love the
days,
heat.
you,
Yeah,
you
when
know,
people complaining about Arizona, I'm like,
yeah,
nope, I love the heat.
yeah, one of these days, and things like that. I want to find myself on a beach. So it's like, so don't just see as about the numbers, but something that will get you creating a lifestyle you want. Because the key is, right, the key is having your
Yeah,
money work for you rather than you working for your money.
for your
Right?
money.
You working for your money.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
with we have gone the 1 hour.
1 minute left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Our topic tonight, obviously, we have been discussing new year, new budget. We hope financial goal setting. We hope we have kind of a share, some great tips, for our folks out there, our immigrant community. We know, like Miss B said, it's challenging. Most of us came here, financial education, is alien to us. We don't know about credit. It's like it's a lot of like, we're just learning new system, learning how to pay bill. Like Liberia is a cash-based economy, right? You come here, you gotta, everything is credit, everything is debt, so it's like, the cultural expectations, everything is different. So,
Yeah.
know that, don't feel guilty, but we hope you can get into the habit. We hope you can take the time, to really, really educate yourself financially, learn about these things and stuff like that. So with the few minutes left, Ms. B, what is the parting message to our audience out there tonight as we discuss, new year, new budget, financial goal setting?
I like this quote. It says, your failure to plan is planning to fail. It's very,
Mhm,
very true. And so I would say is just have a plan for your money.
mhm,
Don't let the money plan you. Have a plan for your money.
mhm. Okay. So with that, folks, obviously, write down those goals, right? Start building your budget. We hope you actually found this episode very, very helpful. Tomorrow we're gonna be back here discussing something very, very different. But it was a great show tonight. Every Wednesday we are here discussing, financial topics, discussing money, discussing business, entrepreneurs, all you entrepreneurs out there. For me, I say I'm very, very passionate about finance, and my co-host and my panelist, Miss B, she's an investor, small business owner. And, for me, right, the more you can become passionate, it's something I'm passionate about. And I think it has helped me over the years. And, we hope you get into that habit. You don't have to have financial education. You don't have to be an investor, but just, doing the little things will get you a long way to being on the beach one day, right? And that money working for you. So with that, folks, great night and see you tomorrow for another great, great episode. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.